So first of all, good evening to everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening for this Donelson Hermitage Old Hickory Community Plan Amendment. Uh, so tonight we'll be having Council Member Kevin Roden. He won't be able to attend tonight. He has a prior commitment, so he's going to try to join us and give some comments at the end. He said so. We'll keep a lookout for him. So we have from the applicant team, Mary McGowan, who is with Kimberly Horn. From the planning staff, you have myself, Corey Clark. I'm a planner with Community Plans. Andrea Barber, she's a planner with the Community Plans. Olivia Ranson, she is a planner with the Community Plans as well. And forgive me, but I left my supervisor, Joni Williams, who is joining us as well. She's the manager of the design studio and the community plans division here at the planning department. So the agenda tonight, if you just want to follow along, we have the purpose of this meeting. We're going to do some background, give some background information. We're going to talk about policy and zoning, the requested land use policy associated with this plan amendment. And afterwards, we're going to have the applicant, which is Ms. McGowan. She's going to present her proposal to us. And after that, the floor will be opened up to questions and discussion. So we'll start off by the basic question is, why are we meeting? So the applicant has submitted an application to the Metro National Planning Department requesting to change the land use policy for the area outlined with the red dash marks on the map that you see before you. The planning department will host tonight's event in order to explain the requested land use policy change to the Hermitage Community Plan and provide an opportunity for the community members to ask questions, express concerns, and let us know your thoughts. And just so everyone's aware, the input that we received tonight at this meeting weighs heavily into planning's recommendation to the planning commission once this plan amendment goes before them to be heard. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. Got a little ahead of myself. So I'll be listening, taking notes on the questions and comments received tonight. And like I said, I'll be listening intently. So the requested land use policy change area shown in the red dash line and the rezone request area outlined in the black involve properties located at 4107 and 4186 Dodson Chapel Road and Dodson Chapel Court, just south of Old Hickory Boulevard. If you're looking at the map in front of you, you'll see just to the east, you'll see a subdivision with residential housing. It's single and two family housing there. To the east, to the west, you'll see a active land quarry there. And if you're looking at the top, which is directly north, you'll see Old Hickory Boulevard. And to the south, you can see there it is going along Dodson Chapel Road. There's more, can't see it on this map, but there's more wooded forestry area down south there. So just a little background. Since the late 1980s, Nashville has used community plans as a means of applying Nashville Next, the countywide long-range plan, which is very broad. Within Nashville Next, there are 14 community plans that are tailored to the issues and needs of each community. These plans, along with other plans, guide where development and presentation should occur in each community. The area we're discussing tonight has a star on it, if you're looking at the map, and is within the Hermitage Community Plan. In order to, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself with this mouse here, forgive me, y'all. So in order to implement the vision established in the community plan, we use land use policy, which addresses the form and character of development. Each property in Nashville has a land use policy referred to as a community character policy. Each policy is defined in this document, the Community Character Manual. These policies are standard by which future zone change requests are measured. We also use what's called the Transect, which is a tool for categorizing, understanding, and guiding the various development patterns of a region from the most natural, as you can see the image before you, which is T1 open space, and for areas such as Bells Bend or Beeman Park, natural areas with no development, to the most intense urban, which is T6, which is downtown, the most developed part of Nashville. You can see in these pictures the character of the natural and built environment of each transect. Highlighted is the T3 urban transect, which applies to much of the Heritage Community Plan, which we're talking about this evening. So policy, why policy is important. Policy is important because it is the guidance that rezoning requests are measured against. So if a zoning request is supported by existing policies, there's a higher likelihood that the Metro Planning Commission will recommend approval. If the request is not supported by the existing policy, the Metro Planning Commission is unlikely to recommend approval. So an applicant may apply to change to a policy that does not support the zoning request. In this case, the applicant is requesting a zone change to a zoning that is not supported by the existing policy. So along with the rezoning request, they are also requesting to change the policy. So each property in Davidson County has a policy and a zoning district. Policies provide guidance and represent the vision for an area. Applying a policy change with the plan amendment does not change the current zoning. That should be noted. Zoning law is a set of regulations that control the physical development of land, including land use, density, height, setbacks, parking, access, landscaping, and signs. With this case, we see that the requested area is currently zoned single-family residential. The applicant has applied to change the zoning to specific plan to allow for mixed-use development. In order to do that, the land use policy also has to be changed to a policy which supports this zoning change. So next up, what you're seeing is a map showing the land use policies surrounding the requested area. Once again, outlined in the red dashed area. The existing land use policy of the site and the majority of the area surrounding the site is suburban neighborhood evolving, shown in a light beige color. So a little background about the existing policy, suburban neighborhood evolving. These areas are typically going to be underdeveloped, or suitable for substantial infill and redevelopment, and are anticipated to be developed in suburban residential patterns, but at higher densities with greater housing variety than your classic suburban neighborhoods. And so the requested policy, suburban neighborhood center, is going to be applicable to areas where there is a concentration of land that is zoned, used, or intended to be used as commercial and mixed use, and that is situated to serve suburban neighborhood, and where the center's intensification is supported by surrounding existing or planned residential development, adequate infrastructure, and adequate access, such as Arterial Boulevard and Collector Avenue streets, which in this area, we have Dodson Chapel, Old Hickory Boulevard, Andrew Jackson Parkway. This policy emphasizes higher intensity mixed use and commercial uses at intersections, with preference given to residential uses between intersections. And so that takes us to this portion where you're going to hear from the applicant about they would like to do, and then afterwards we will have a Q&A session for you to ask questions and we provide answers. So let me give me one moment here, everyone. I'm gonna stop sharing so Miss McGowan can. All right.
All right. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Corey. That was a great tee up for this and a great explanation of the difference between the zoning versus the community character policy. So we met with a lot of you guys virtual a while ago and kind of talked through the actual site plan of this project. We're still working through that site plan with planning throughout our preliminary SP process. So it is going through that review and being tweaked each day. But what we're going to talk about today is really about the policy change that Corey presented on earlier, just ahead of me. And so just to kind of reiterate the location, we're along Dodson Chapel Road, just south of Old Hickory. And it is this location right here. It's where the Methodist Church previously was. This site is actually an SP. That was for the daycare, and then this side over here is the RS15. So both of these are included in our preliminary SP that's been submitted, this parcel and this parcel. However, this one is the one that has the policy change on it, and so that'll be a little bit more clear. So this parcel that Corey pointed out very clearly is where we will have a portion of it that falls within the policy change. And this portion of the site of the preliminary SP is not included. So it's not even the entire parcel, it's just a portion of it for what is deemed necessary. So again, this is just showing exactly what Corey pointed out earlier. This was in your flyer that's sent out, so hopefully everyone has seen this. And so the reason it really is why. Why are we going from T3NE to T3NC for this portion? Early on, when we met with the councilman, it was very evident that some sort of retail commercial along here would be really nice to be included in the residential development. However, the T3NE that currently exists does not allow for any commercial or retail development. It strictly is residential, community gardens, and other open spaces, and institutional. It does not allow for a retail store to be located there, no coffee shops, no nothing like that. And so when we began discussions with planning staff, they pointed us to that we would have to seek a policy change for that portion of the site in order to get that commercial use. So this is all T3NE up here. This shows you, this is straight from the community character manual. It shows you appropriate land uses. It shows you appropriate zonings, which design-based zoning, which is what we're seeking, different building types. And then also on the T3NC, it shows you the examples of appropriate land use, which has that commercial component, which would allow for us to include some retail and create a mixed use development versus a strictly residential. It's not really getting us more density. It's not adding, anything else to the site. It's really allowing us to provide that retail usage for the neighborhood and also for our proposed development to create those pedestrian walkabilities that Corey was mentioning earlier in reference to T3NC. And so then I just have one more thing just to kind of show you. So just like Corey had up earlier, everything that's in the beige is the T3NE, and so everything around it would stay in T3NE, and it would just be that rectangle right there that goes to the T3NC. So that is essentially the presentation. Again, just wanted to let you guys know that it's really for that commercial retail aspect to add to the development and to make it a mixed use development. So with that, I will stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Corey. If I can figure out how to, there it is.
All right. Let me all right, thank you, Mary, for that. So now we will open up the floor for questions from the audience at this point. I'm gonna stop sharing so I may be able to see who is.
Corey, can they just come unmute, off unmute on their own if they have a question?
No, they would need to raise their hand and then I can unmute them once Corey calls upon them.
Yep, so everyone was listening. as Charlotte just mentioned, if you have a question down in the bottom there, the participants panel to the right, there's a little hand icon. Just hit that, and you'll be able to be transferred over and ask questions. All right, looks like Mr. Devin Bradford
Yeah.
has a question.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a girl. It's a
Oh,
name. It's okay. It happens all the time, so don't feel
my
bad.
apologies.
It's all right. So Mike, I live in the Steeplechase condominiums, and we
Mhm.
sent a letter to the congressman, to Kevin. I'm not sure if he received that or not. But we had we had several concerns that the community unanimously wanted to share. But one of the things, since you're wanting to change this to a commercial use, I know that you all previously were thinking about doing a coffee shop in the community, but we have 4 coffee shops within 2 miles, and that's not even including gas stations. So trying to understand, I shared this last time when Matt gave his presentation, what the actual benefit to the community is going to be versus just something that's going to be there for not prosperity, but just kind of for show. As I shared previously, there was a church there that had a fantastic food kitchen that really gave back to the community, and I'm not really seeing the value in changing the zoning for this. And I asked this the question the last time. I didn't really get a great answer from the applicants. So I wanted to share that question again.
Oh yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I will defer to Ms. McGowan on that question.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Devin. Thanks for joining. I do just want to make sure one thing is clear for you, is that there are 2 processes. We're not seeking a commercial rezone. It's just the policy that would allow for a commercial use, but it's actually not the zoning policy that would allow it. The SP would. So that there will be, 2 separate items that go before Planning Commission. One is this policy change, and then the other one is the actual preliminary SP. Just want to clarify, make sure that's clear. So I think that, a coffee shop was just mentioned from the councilman, and so I think that the developer who's also owning, and they can then chime in and see if I misspeak or anything, but I think they're listening to what the neighborhood wants and what the residents want. It's not just for the residents there on site. It is for the community. That's the purpose of it. That's why we're going through this extra step to change that policy. So I think that the feedback of, there are a lot of coffee shops, if there's a better use, is something that the developer will take into consideration. It isn't set up. There isn't a tenant that's lined out to use it yet, Devin. So we don't know exactly what it's going to be used as, but the intent is to provide some sort of commercial use in the development. We just have a lot of other hurdles to get through and steps to check off before you can get a tenant signed up for that kind of space.
Hey, Devin,
Hi.
this is Matt Evans. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I just got taken off mute here. Really appreciate you joining us again and expressing your concern. I'll just add a couple of things. So that coffee shop was actually the request of Councilman Roden. I believe he talked to folks in the community to arrive at the idea that that's a benefit to the community. So probably would defer to him to speak a little bit more on how he got the coffee shop. I will say though that we kind of see it very differently, I think, than you, and hopefully you can kind of come on board with us as we work through the SP, and we're really trying to lean in and get everybody to a good place here. But the church that is selling this property is going to use the proceeds from the sale to fund their daycare operation. So, as you know, the tornadoes back in March of 2020 took this church and the daycare down. I'm told that about half of that congregation has gone up the road to the other United Methodist Church, which is where they have daycare operations. So, by us getting this property rezoned, and we really need this land use policy change in order to do that, we're going to be able to purchase the land. When we purchase the land, the church will get money that they're going to turn around and put into these ongoing daycare operations. So we see that as a huge, huge benefit to the community. The other thing I would say is that, this is a vacant site, right? I would consider it an eyesore right now. I think everybody's can have their own opinion, but my opinion is that it's not good for the community for it to be sitting here. We're working on a site up in Madison, Tennessee, that has been sitting vacant for a number of years, and there's a large homeless population camp up there. And so, not to scare anybody, I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but I'm just saying that by us building brand new, very high end housing here, we feel like it kind of lifts the area, right? So you've got something that's aesthetically pleasing. You've got a use that is really not a detriment, I don't think, in any way to the neighborhood. And it prevents it from just kind of being a stale site, and at the same time gives money back to the church, puts money back in the church's pocket. So we certainly think that this is an awesome opportunity for everybody in the neighborhood, to kind of realize and hopefully hopefully you can kind of see the benefit there. I'm happy to kind of talk offline. I know this is largely about the about the land use policy change. So if you need to ping me separately, I'm happy to meet up or do another screen share or call, and we can kind of figure out what's best for everybody. But it's kind of our point of view as a developer.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Do we have any more questions from our audience?
So I'm sorry, just so I'm clear. So Councilman Roden suggested the coffee shop, and you all don't know what the options for retail are or for the mixed use zoning?
It's going to be limited retail. He suggested a coffee shop, so we're going down that path. I don't think it's going to be written into the specific plan zoning what retail that is, but it's going to be a size that would be consistent with a small coffee shop. So I would say 99% chance that's what it's going to be. We won't secure like a lease for it until later down the road, so probably a year from now.
Okay, and then as far as the zoning with the type that's changed, the policy or the zone change request, how is that going to affect the roads? Because that's like a major concern for our community. I mean, I'm looking outside right now and there's traffic in front of the entrances. So does the zoning change affect the traffic study that you all are going to do, and will it improve the current roads that we have?
Yeah, I'll let Mary answer that one. Her company is our consultant on the traffic study as well, but I'll just say that we do have to go through a very rigorous traffic analysis with Metro Nashville as part of our permitting process, and actually even before submitting to planning for the zoning request, we did have to complete a traffic study. And what that means is we sat down and did a scoping meeting with Metro Nashville, where they they told us which intersections they want to study, you know, which lights, and all the detail that they want us to provide specific to this area for that study. And then we go out, do the study, return it to them. You know, they make comments. Oftentimes they'll say, go back out and do some additional investigation. But the idea is that, you know, we do everything that we can possibly do to mitigate any kind of traffic impact. And I think Mary's probably got the stats in front of her, but I want to say it's like, you know, a very, very minimal impact. I mean, like seconds added to that stoplight, or, you know, to that intersection at Old Hickory Boulevard for this development.
Yeah, our contribution of traffic for the proposed development is less than 1% to the intersection. But you know, we do realize that there are concerns on Dodson Chapel. Matt's exactly right. We've submitted a traffic study to National Department of Transportation, NDOT. It's under review, and you know what we have proposed to them is to include a center lane, left turn lane, a two-way left turn lane, so that, you know, for anyone that, you know, turning into our development or turning into Albee Drive, you know, you have refuge to turn in very easily. We're also proposing the required bike lanes, landscape strip and sidewalk all along Dodson. So we're dedicating a significant amount of right of way along Dodson Chapel Road, a little bit more than what's actually required in order to provide all those things. So it is definitely something that's important. It's not only important to you, but it's also important to Matt and their residents. You know, you can't have, if it's hard to get into a property, if it's hard to get out of a property, no one's going to want to live there, right? So it's just as important to us and our team as it is to all the current residents. But yeah, that's all underway. In addition, you know, Dodson Chapel Court, which is pretty much, I mean, it's right away right now, and it's bisecting the north parcel from the south parcel. So we're proposing to bring that up to street standards. Right now, it doesn't really qualify as a street; it just is right away. So we are bringing all of that up to the NDOT street standards. So, and there are some signal timing modifications that we're looking at, and some pedestrian connectivity as well. Because we are putting this retail in here, having that pedestrian connectivity is extremely important as well.
Yeah, I wonder if that study will be available to the community, because where we are located, we are directly at the Old Hickory Dodson Chapel intersection. So the entrances that you're saying having the left turn lane will not affect us. It'll actually create more traffic for our community. And right now, like, again, like I just said, I looked out my window, I can see the street, it's blocked. So, you know, we are having to rely on people stopping to let us in and out of our community. So, you know, because we're further up than what your proposed entrances are for your new development. So we're very, very concerned with us being right there at that intersection, that it's going to be even more of a nightmare. You know, when we're turning into our complex, we're backing traffic up onto Old Hickory Boulevard because people have blocked our entrance, and we have to wait for the light to go, and then we have to wait for someone to stop to let us enter in. So traffic is getting backed up into the main intersection. So I don't know if your traffic study included our section, which is where, you know, I guess we're being selfish, but that's a main pain point for our community.
Yeah, so we studied the intersection. So we have before we do any kind of traffic study, we have to meet with the Department of Transportation, and they actually dictate what intersections we have to study as part of our analysis. The driveways for individual developments are not typically included in that, and it wasn't in this one. We did study heavily, you know, Dodson Chapel and Old Hickory Boulevard. This probably doesn't give you a whole lot of comfort, Devin, but if we were to try and develop the, you know, where you guys are now, we would not be allowed to put the driveway in your location because of all of the reasons that you're saying. And so that's why all of our driveways are further down, is so that we're not creating a similar issue elsewhere on Dodson Chapel. That is an existing condition, and we'll talk to the DOT about it and see if there are any options or mitigations that we can do for it, to help alleviate that. But it typically, driveway locations for properties are not included in traffic studies. It's focused on intersections. But we can talk to NDOT about that for sure.
We would be very, very grateful because we only have one way in and one way out. So we are, excuse me, my southern vernacular, but we're stuck like Chuck. And this development is not going to help us or, our community standards at all. So considering our aspect would be very, very helpful. We would appreciate that.
All right, we have another hand from from Ken Eckert.
Ken, you're unmuted.
Hi, Ken, can you hear us? You're unmuted. Okay, I think he disappeared there.
He's still there. I think he's having audio issues, but Councilmember Roten is now on, Corey.
Okay. Hey, Councilmember Roten, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for having me. We got a capital spending plan going on right now, and I apologize. I'm supposed to be in there voting on that right now. What the previous lady, I just heard what she was talking about. I understand her concerns. I want her to know that I put in the CIB this year, that's the capital improvements budget, to have that intersection at Old Hickory Boulevard and Dodson Chapel widened. I know everyone that lives there understands across the street you have a 5, and I believe with one of the turn lanes, a 6-lane road. And right across the street where Dodson Chapel is, it's a 2-lane road. And there's a very, very, very short left turn lane. So it backs up considerably during rush hour from Old Hickory Boulevard all the way past where the development is proposed, and sometimes even further past that. So I understand what their concerns are, and that's going to be one of the things that I discuss with the developer in planning to see what we can do about traffic through that area. I understand the widening is going to help quite a bit if we can get a turn lane through that area. I'm trying to work with National Department of Transportation to see if we can't get a little more assistance through there, not only from the developer, but all the way through that area has always been an issue. So I want everybody to know that I'm very concerned as well. And so I'll be talking with the developer. So that's all I really had to say about that. So thanks. I'm just kind of listening to everyone's concerns tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Roden. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And Councilman, did you receive the letter from the Steeplechase community with our concerns? Did you receive that letter?
I did
Okay.
get your, yeah. And the main one was the traffic through that. I understand, density is a problem from everyone in Davidson County right now. We have major problems in that we have a lot of people moving here, not enough housing, which is making our prices go through the roof. If you don't build, prices continue to go through the roof. If you do build, everyone gets mad at you for building in their area. So it's kind of a, push and pull. So this is an SP. So we have a little bit of say over what we're wanting to do here. And so that's one of my goals, is to have meetings with you guys. We've already had one before this. We will have another one before Hopefully it goes to planning, and then we will definitely have one before, if it gets past planning, before it comes to us. So I'm not completely sold yet. So I want to hear from everyone in the community, especially the folks that live through that area, because it's going to affect y'all more than anyone else. So my goal with any development where the church used to be is a nice entrance way from Old Hickory Boulevard into the library, the police section, the park area, and we would want that area through there to be nice, not traffic backed up every day, something that is what the community wants it to be. So I understand your concerns. I did read your letter. Mr. Eckert sent me a letter as well. And so I'm very interested in what everybody's thinking. So thank you for being on the call tonight. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Uh-huh.
I know Mr. Eckert was trying to get through. Is he still having difficulty, Sade?
It looks like he's dropped from audio.
Okay.
Hey guys, while I'm here, I know I got here late. Did y'all put up the development, or did y'all just show I know it's just the community plan amendment, but I didn't know if y'all showed the development as well or not.
Councilman Rowe, we focused on just the policy change and not the preliminary SB.
Yeah. And what are we going, I know it's, what was the underlying zoning under the church? That's the one, I always forget what that underlying zoning was. And the daycare, they both had different policies underneath them, and that's what was strange about this property.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we were seeking as for our initial submittal. I think that our planner was still kind of going back and forth on what it should be. But I can tell you what we put on the initial submittal. Can't make it fast enough when I'm on the spot. MUGANS.
Gotcha. Now, and I'm looking now, it's going from a T3NE to a T3NC, which, did y'all discuss that? Did y'all explain to folks what that means?
Yes, we did, and it's
Okay.
not the whole, it's not the entirety of one parcel. It's
Right, yeah. And for the folks listening, I want them to know that we had, Mr. Evans might have discussed this or not, we had a meeting, it's been several months now, about the corner parcel, which is owned by the lady. She used to own the church property and the daycare property. She still owns the rock quarry property, and she contacted me a few days ago wanting to talk about this development. We had a sit-down meeting with the developer and Vulcan, who leases the property from this lady, to see if she might be willing to work with us if something got developed along that stretch for the corner, so we could work on traffic issues at the corner and possibly part of the development, so it would kind of be one piece and we could make everything better. I have not heard back from Vulcan or the lady on if they have any desire at all to work with us. So that's all I can tell everyone right now, as it was my goal to try to, as this is being developed, since we just have that small parcel at the corner, which is a very valuable parcel, but it's also going to be needed, as since the condominiums across the street don't have a lot of traffic ability to use that for traffic. Her property is the only piece of property where you could actually get a lane or two of traffic at that intersection. So that's really why I was working for that corner. Right now, it doesn't seem like they're wanting to work with us. So that's all I can tell you right now. I'm going to keep trying before it gets to planning and definitely before it gets to council to see what we can do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rowe. Thank you again, sir. All right. Do we have any further questions from our audience? Just looking here, I don't think I'm not seeing any hands raised. Just make sure.
This is Kevin again. Could y'all just real quick, since I joined late, just kind of give me a nutshell of kind of what was discussed before I got on? Was there any major concerns? I mean, they're all major concerns, but traffic, and was there anything else that was discussed?
I can speak to that, Kevin. In the previous meeting, you all stated that you were going to be thinking about doing a coffee shop in the
Yeah.
community and the new development. And I mean, there's 4 coffee shops within like a 2-mile drive of where the development will be. So it doesn't seem like that is a real value to our community. And it just seems like it's going to be added there just for not for a real way to give back to our community. You know, I've been a very, very long time resident of Hermitage, and I've seen the changes. I've seen the population grow, and I've seen Hermitage go downhill because of the population. I mean, I remember when there was a poll folks in Hermitage, and it was a nice community, and now it's not. It's traffic all the time. You hear drag racing all the time. I know this is not what this meeting is about, but we need something that's going to give back to our community and to build back our community and make people be proud that they're actually from Hermitage and not have it be a transitional type of community where you live here for a few years and then you move to Franklin. So all that big spiel to say that while a coffee shop sounds really nice, and I understand that it's a limited retail space, I really implore you all to think about how you can give back to the community in a more positive aspect.
And I understand your concerns about wanting to give back to the community. I want everyone to know that I've been speaking with the folks from the church since the tornado last year. The purchase of this property, the money from the purchase of this property is going into a trust fund to continue to fund the daycare, which is moved down the street on Andrew Jackson Parkway. So I want y'all to know that that's where the money from this is going. Whoever purchases this property, that's where the money's going to go. So I want you to know that the developer's money is going back into the community to help with daycare. And the daycare across the street, which is still operating down the street, was the only one in our community that was actually accepting Department of Human Services vouchers for low-income residents. So they've continued that, and they're going to use all the money for this for that purpose. So I want you to know that. As far as the coffee shop, that was just my idea as far as if you're going to build a residential development there that's going to be several levels, to have something, and the sidewalk will actually be in front of that and go all the way down to the park and to the library and to the intersection at Dodson Chapel and Central Pike. It was just a way of having a walkable type neighborhood establishment. As you just discussed, you have 4 coffee shops within a couple miles, but what do you have to do to get to them? You have to get in your car, you have to drive, and that's where the traffic comes from. What I'm trying to do is help everyone in the area. If you want to get up in the morning and go get, a sandwich, or if you want to go get a cup of coffee, to be able to walk across the street or walk down the street to get something rather than get in your car. So that was kind of the thought process on trying to put a little small retail across the street so everyone that lives in the area could have something close by. So I just wanted to let you know that what was going on with that thought.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate your thought process on that. However, with the amount of traffic that we currently have, I do not foresee anyone walking, especially if there's only sidewalks, which what Matt said last time would only cover their community. It would not go down to the library. So that's a change, it's a new development. But the last time Matt, I remember he actually said that they cannot build a sidewalk on other people's property. And I'm hoping the sidewalk will be on both sides of the street and not just on that one side, because there's a lot of people that live on the opposite side where this development's going. And I don't feel comfortable crossing the street. I try to walk to the train to get to work and would always get hit. So I have to drive. So it's great in theory, but realistically speaking, in practice, that's just not feasible.
And I think your concern is more with your community right at the corner of Old Hickory Boulevard and Dodson Chapel, which I don't disagree with you. When they built that community back in it was the early 80s, I believe, when they built that, they weren't building sidewalks. And Dodson Chapel is exactly like it was when that condominium complex was built. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get sidewalks on both sides of the street. Yes, this developer can only do them on their property on one side of the street, but as a councilman, I can try to get sidewalks on both sides of the street. Like as soon as you cross the bridge there, going toward the library, there's a sidewalk on one side. The other side has already been rezoned for development. They will have to put sidewalks in. So the only thing we are really lacking ultimately will be sidewalks on it'll be the south side of Dodson Chapel down to Old Hickory Boulevard. So it took us a lot of work just to get a crosswalk there at Dodson Chapel and Andrew Jackson Parkway. You would think that would, when someone built something like that, it would immediately say, we need a crosswalk here. And there wasn't one there. And so Darren Jernigan and I, who's the state rep, that's a state road, we had to work really hard just to get the crosswalk across Old Hickory Boulevard there and to get that paid for. So I agree with you. There is a lack of infrastructure in this area. I 100% agree with you. I live right down the road. I'm there at that red light every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. There's a lack of infrastructure in this area. So I understand what you're talking about, and we're going to look at that hard before this ever gets through planning or this gets to council. If there are not improvements through there, and if Metro's not going to help us out, then, this might not be the right place for this. I agree with you. So that's where we are right now.
Great. I feel like I'm the only one asking questions and providing feedback, and I don't have anything additional. I don't want to keep anyone any longer.
No, thank you. Thank you so much I want someone to give us feedback, because if we don't get feedback, we don't know what everyone's thinking. But believe me, I'm thinking the same thing you are. So I understand your concerns.
All
Perfect.
right.
Thank you, Corey, Mary. I appreciate your efforts. So thanks for having us.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for providing us with that feedback. Much appreciated. Thank you, man. And so now again, ask of the attendees, are there any questions? Anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question at this point? All right, so let me share my screen again here with everyone. All right, so seems like there were no more questions. However, just to let everyone know that this this community meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the Metro Planning Department's YouTube channel. This this case is scheduled to go before the Metro Planning Commission January 13th. However, that's not set in stone. Let me make that clear. That's just what we attached as a deadline. So it could be further out. So just for everybody's that's concerned, that's just tentatively. So like I said, it's not set in stone. However, for those of you who were in attendance that maybe didn't want to raise their hand or had technical difficulties or whatnot, you can also email me comments up on the screen to corey.clark@nashville.gov, or you can call me at 615-862-71. Actually, that is the wrong last four digits. 615-862-7155. I apologize for not correcting that on here. So that's my fault. So again, you can email me any comments, questions that you may have for myself or the applicant. Give me a call. Feel free just to reach out or whatnot. And Mary, do you have any last words?
I don't. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for putting this all together. Appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good evening. And again, feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. All right, everyone have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you, Councilman.